Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham, and I've lived in 114 countries, and I've been traveling kind of nonstop for 26 years. I returned back to the United States, but I don't live here. I don't have a house. I don't rent something by the year. I don't own a thing. I really just own a few boxes of stuff that I leave with my sister. I'm going to talk today about alcoholism. I attend Alcoholics Anonymous, and there's a lot of, I don't know, it's just insanity going on right now. I just watched a bunch of videos because I was writing about, I'm going to write a book called The Philosophy of. So I'm writing a chapter called The Philosophy of Alcoholism. I got these different topics. So just any kind of topic that I want to write about, and I'll put it into different chapters and I'll put it into different volumes. But I've lived in 114 countries, and I've been sober now for 37 years and some odd months, okay? I think 30 months. Got sober February 12th, I think, 1984, I think. But 37 years. I know that's the correct thing. I've just calculated. But I've been sober for 37 years, and I attend Alcoholics Anonymous. And I've been laughing because I'm in my book that I'm writing on the philosophy of, it's not alcoholism, it's the philosophy of a lot of topics, okay? But I can talk about my personal, truthful revelation or whatever, my belief, my wisdom on different topics. But today I'm trying to work on the alcoholism part of it. And I sit there and I said, I'm going to tell my story first. Okay, I've been sober. So the first time I went into an AA meeting was probably when I was about 20, 21 years old. I was in Bloomington, Indiana, and I went into this meeting. This is when they still smoked in all the meetings. And oh man, it was just, it felt like I was going into hell or something. Right? Everybody was smoking and everybody was drinking, and it was kind of your traditional losers type situation, okay? When I was in university at Indiana University, Bloomington, and I was studying philosophy, psychology, and all these things, and I was definitely getting in trouble. I had my first, I don't know when I had my first TWI. I think I've had 4 driving while intoxicated, maybe 5. It's according to how you look at it. Okay, but you know, you drive a lot more than just what you get stopped. So, but I went into this AA meeting at age 21. I'm now 65 plus years old, okay? I've been sober now for 37 years. But I went in this AA meeting and I tried my best to be part of the group, okay? And, but I was scared, right? The reason why I was scared is because the legal system I stopped, got a drunken driving and whatever. So I went, kind of started out in Bloomington where I started my alcoholism. The reason why I'm an alcoholic is because, in my opinion, I drank too much, too often. Okay, too often until it became a habit to drink every day of the week. Okay, and I was in university. I was one of these wild boys, okay, long hair, blue-eyed farm boy, hanging around with my friend Steve, which was from New York City, Great Neck, New York. And we used to call it the RP&P, rape, pillage, and plunder. Don't get me wrong, we didn't rape anybody, okay? But the RP&P was just sort of I don't know, it's like a Clockwork Orange takeoff of joking. But I've always been kind of a rogue, okay? I've done anything and everything I want. But I came from a very rigid religious family, and I came from Indiana in the Midwest where the work ethic was very good, and we were very good people. I've always been a good person in the idea that I believed in telling the truth. Okay, that doesn't say I always believed in God, and I still question the existence of God. I'm sort of sometimes agnostic, sometimes I'm very religious. It's an act of faith, right? Okay, but whatever the case was, I was raised in one of the most, probably one of the most, after 114 countries, I don't think there's hardly any place in the United States that's better to raise children than like the northeast part of Indiana, okay? Because it's a little paradise, and contrary to what people think, Indiana is really a German community. Okay, you got the Scandinavians way up north, and you know, they kind of came for some reason they came across from Europe right directly across at the same latitude, and I've been, you know, I was very lucky. I was born a lucky sperm in this area where we had a good work ethic. I worked on a farm since I was, I don't know, 10 years old. Summers. I don't live on a farm, but I worked in a farm. So what happened is I get to university and I start drinking all the time. And why did I drink? To me, there was two reasons why I believe I drank. Is because I really wanted to stop thinking, okay? It's the only way I knew to shut off the computer and stop thinking. Of course, we all have these malaise or these, you know, I don't even want to call them like guilt things, traumas, whatever. We have these traumas, okay? And I got a drunk driving. My first drunk driving was when I left Madison House. We used to drive across the border, the Michigan border, where it was 18 to drink in Michigan, and it was still 21. And I think, you know, this has always been a good thing. But I got a drunk driving. I was left Madison House, and I went left to center because they had a, you know, they were stopping all the cars. It was a police trap for cars, and I went left to center. I got a ticket for left to center because I was trying to be safe. Okay. I was legally drunk. I got put in the drunk tank, and so at age 18, my father came over, and I don't know, I had to go to court, whatever. They didn't do much, right? First drunk driving. This is, oh, gee whiz, this would be 1975 or something, not 76. I'm not that good on years. So 76 is, so almost, you know, I was age 20, so let's see, 65, 45, about 50 years ago. Okay, so I got a drunk driving. Okay, I suffered, whatever, blah, 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 and I went on. Okay, then I went to Indiana University, and the reason why I drank is because I wanted to shut my brain off. I was an overactive brain, plus it made me feel good. And I had one university professor at Indiana University said, the danger of different realities, see, like this is a yucky way of knowledge type time, right? You have different realities. You have the reality of being sober. You have the reality of being drunk. You have the reality of being stoned. When a person likes a reality of something better than the normal reality, they can get addicted. So if you can like the reality of being a workaholic. You can like the reality of working in nature. You can like the reality of being a nurse. You can have different realities, and these are time frames where you spend a lot of time and you can become addicted. So the people that get addicted to sex, alcoholism, drugs, they kind of like that reality more than they like the reality of just normal life. But you can see that being a bungee cord jumper, these are different realities, okay? And people can become kind of addicted to the dopamine rush. Right now, people are addicted to their smartphones. It's quite obvious that the smartphone has become one of the biggest addictions on the planet. Okay, and then the social networks. But there's people that cannot go one day without getting on a social network. This is an addiction because you like the reality of being in that space. Okay, so I like the feeling of being drunk. It made me braver. It made me feel more handsome, and it made me also stop thinking so much. Okay, so those are my reasons. But the real reasons why I became an alcoholic was quite simple. It became a habit. Okay, I drank so much, so often, that I became an alcoholic. Now, how to stop once you get a habit? So we get these different habits, right? Like right now, most of the United States, probably at least 50% of the United States is addicted to getting married and getting divorced, right? They're addicted to, there's kind of these semi-addictions, whatever. They're addicted to problems. They're addicted to working. I mean, so many people feel they have no value unless they're working 24 hours, almost all the time. But we have these different passions or things we get in that give us purpose. Okay, you have beneficial addictions and you have negative addictions. When I love to go to the gym every day. So I went to the gym every day when I was living in the United States. It's about, I don't know, 15 years of living inside the United States. I'd go to the gym every day, just like happy hour. But I'd also go to an AA meeting almost every day for the first 10 or 15. I think I went to at least somewhere around 5,000 to 10,000 AA meetings. But you have a meeting, you have the meeting before, the meeting you go to, and the meeting after. So some of these things normally last right around 2 hours. Okay, so giving up alcoholism was difficult at first because I had to talk to a bunch of what I considered extreme losers, okay? And because they were not somebody I wanted to be like. Okay, now somewhere along the line I learned that you take what you want and you leave the rest. Okay, take it what you want. Anything you do in life, you have to take what you want and leave the rest. There's a lot of great things about Walmart, McDonald's, everything on the planet has something good about it. I mean, like, I'll give you an example on McDonald's. They have a 65-cent coffee here where I'm at, and they have a 25-cent coffee, and it's very good coffee. So you don't have to go in there and eat things. I always remember my friend Mike's, I was talking about going to, I said, why don't you come to the Philippines? And he says, well, they got prostitutes there. I said, Mike, that's an elected thing, okay? It's not a thing. But optimization of your life is what makes the value of anything. So if you optimize your life, you can pick and choose what things are negative. There is no such thing as an all-perfect, absolute good or bad. Omniscience, all-powerful, omnipotent, omniscience. I mean, it's a problem. People want to be perfect, and there is no perfect world. So when I was watching these AA videos today, there's all these guys saying that AA is a cult, a fraud, or whatever, and this one guy was obviously trying to make money, trying to be an alcohol expert. I was really laughing at him, complaining about something free. Okay, I don't know. There's free doctors in Lake Athlon where I've been many times, and people complain about it. I said, you're complaining about something that's free. I mean, it's purely your choice to go do it and your choice to take from it whatever you want, okay? And this is alcoholism. I mean, AA. AA is absolutely free. You do not have to spend the money. They have the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. That doesn't mean you have to quit. I went to many, many AA meetings up in Midland, Michigan, totally drunk. And they would say, why are you here? And I said, I have a desire to stop drinking. I said, guys, I didn't know how to stop, okay? And AA started out with some very hardcore alcoholics. So my first drunk driving was age 18, then I got one 21 or something. And I spent 21 days in jail in Bloomington, Indiana. I spent 4 days in jail in Brown County, and I don't know how many, that must have been like the third or fourth drunk driving, because you don't always get thrown in jail when you get a drunk driving. Okay, who knows? I mean, I'm not really, I don't really care because I was guilty, okay? But I can tell you that going to jail is not very difficult, okay? It's got to be one of the things. The bad part is they made me into a trustee, which means I had to work all day long. They had all these books, television, you could collect calls, you could do all these things while you're in jail. And what do? They make me work like 12 hours a day. Okay, and you're hanging around with a bunch of people that they all not guilty. It's like that Shawshank Redemption. Everybody in jail thinks it's somebody else's fault. So the number one dysfunctional characteristic, in my opinion, of an alcoholic or a workaholic or a sexaholic or a narcotics and any of these categories, all these 12-step programs, overeaters, is it's somebody else's fault. That's the number one problem thing. So when somebody fails to stay sober, whether they use AA or whatever, it's not anybody else's fault but your own fault. take responsibility for yourself is the first tenet of staying sober. Okay, so I've been to 114 countries, and I've traveled nonstop. I went there. I don't go to AA all the time, right? I can't. Now, people get addicted to AA, but the goal of an addiction, in my opinion, is you stop one addiction and you switch it with another. See, nobody really gives up an addiction. They really switch out, in my opinion. Okay, so I gave up being a workaholic to become at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I became a workout person. I worked out every day. So I was addicted to something beneficial. I stopped drinking, and I went to AA. Now what happens was, the first time I actually stayed sober for any length of time, I was up in Midland, Michigan, and what started me being able to stay sober was kind of humorous, okay? I guess I was addicted to three things. I was addicted to the bars. I was addicted to the environment of the bars. I was addicted to meeting girls and dating a lot of women and things. So these three things were BJ Fogg's addiction. They were coupled together. I had three addictions coupled together. And they kept saying you have to give up bars, you have to give up women, you have to give up drinking. And I said, I couldn't do it. Okay, so finally I stayed sober when I gave up just drinking. Okay, and I went to the bars almost every night. And I went and I met women, and it was a withdrawal from women, because when I was drinking, I had a lot of women. Okay, I was a very handsome man, and I had a lot of women. Okay, and so I started going to the bars, and then I started staying sober because I had some enjoyment. They wanted me to hang around and make my best friends, everybody in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I go, guys, I love you, but I hate you. You are not the group of people that I want to spend my days with, talking with 24 hours a day. Don't get me wrong. There's 2 or 3 people in AA in the last 40-some years that I've met. If you calculated all the times, I stayed sober for about 3 years, and I got drunk for like 3 months, and then I got sober for another 37 years. So I really haven't hardly drank in 40 years, okay? But after 3 years of being sober, I got drunk, okay? I called my sponsor. I got involved in AA. I did everything I was supposed to do. My sponsor said to me, read the big book and call me in the morning. And I wanted to say, screw you, and I did. I said, this is not what you do. Okay, but the way that I stayed sober was really simple. Up in Midland, Michigan, they had a call list, and they had these numbers, and they actually printed it out. This was before everybody was scared of everything, right? And now you have to collect them, and people are so afraid of spam and emails. It's 10 times safer now than when it was then, but they've made everything into a trauma. Okay, but the way I stayed sober was, I always like to say that I had a 5-minute warning. Okay, 5 minutes. When I got the urge to drink, I had 5 minutes before I figured out some way to drink. So what I would do, and I highly recommend this, is that if you want to stay sober, find somebody that you really like talking to. Don't get a sponsor. Don't get any preacher. Don't get any of that stupid shit. You don't want to get a teacher. You don't want to get a therapist. You want to get somebody you like to talk to, because the goal is to get that feeling to subside. Okay, so I got on the phone list up in Midland, Michigan. I started calling all these people, and I was able to go through that period where my addiction was kicking in. It's like wanting a cigarette. I smoked cigarettes for almost a year, maybe 2 years. Very, very addictive, and everybody will give you one. Well, alcohol, it's not that easy to go get drunk at 3 o'clock in the morning. So and for sure it's a temptation. These guys that have alcohol in their house, they're insane. Okay. But when I got drunk, I had put on a party, and I put some liquor I had a party, and we invited everybody, and I had some, and I kept some in it didn't get all drank, and so it was available in the house. That was one of my first mistakes that helped me get drunk. I got upset over a woman, almost women are my biggest dangers for drinking, okay? I'm very afraid of women because when you love too much, the pain of losing somebody can make you drunk, okay, or get you drunk or whatever. It's my fault, but I got drunk, and then I stayed drunk for about 3 months, and then I don't know, I was driving this little car. I was staying at my grandmother's trying to figure out a way to find the safety to give me the power to get sober. I know I wanted to get sober, and I wanted to quit drinking, but, you know, it's a sort of insanity, okay? And the addiction of shutting off the feelings, that is what alcohol did for me. It shut me off from feeling. It wasn't for pleasure. It was more like a binge drinker. Okay, but there's probably 6 or 8 years of my life where I drank for a very camaraderie point of view, go out, meet women, have fun, go to the bars, hang out in the Bluebird, do lines of Coke on the table, do drugs, meet girls. It was a rogue environment. Okay, I was kind of a bad boy. Okay, but then somewhere around age 23 or something, 22, I also broke my femur. Okay, and that meant I went from a very handsome man to a invalid. I was in a wheelchair, and I had to walk on crutches for about a year, and it was really hard on my ego. Okay, because everything comes down to ego and the power and the environment you're in. Okay, if there's anything for sure that I learned from all of this is that each environment that we are in creates the temptation to do whatever you want. So if you want to be rich, you hang around with rich people. If you want to be poor, you hang around with poor people. If you want to be a loser, you want to get a tattoo, hang around with a bunch of people with tattoos. None of us is capable of really avoiding the social pressure of hanging around with people. We can do it for a very short period of time, but if you hang around with the criminals, next thing you know, you think criminal behavior is normal. So what your new normal is something that you do on a regular basis. Okay, so I started really drinking a lot, and I didn't get married. Okay, the two women that I should have married when I was under, say, 25, Christy and Judy, would have been good wives, and they were morally, spiritually, mentally the same as me. They went to university. There's kind of a disconnect on different relationships, but relationships are very dangerous. You see, I'm always laughing at these guys that have been divorced because they are so traumatized and they haven't resolved it. All you got to do is say woman to a 60-year-old man, and he goes kind of, it's like anger, right? The women do the same. Men do this. Women do this. It's insanity. Because getting married is sort of, in a way, is kind of an addiction. You get addicted to that thing. When my mother died, my mother and father had slept together in the same bed for almost, say, 60 years. And it was quite obvious that Mom had withdrawal from sleeping with that person in bed. It's the realities, guys. The reality of what we hang around with becomes who we are. So if you want to construct yourself and make a new you have to put yourself into an environment. So it's kind of like immersion. People want to say immersion to learn Spanish, which is not really that easy. Okay, immersion's after you already speak Spanish pretty good. Okay, to just go in there and instantly immerse yourself for a long period of time can be just absolutely dysfunctional. Okay, but a functional situation. Okay, I speak. Yo hablo español. Je parle français. I speak 2 languages. I'm not a loser, guys. It's kind of contrary to what you think, because you're going to go to an AA meeting and you're going to talk to a bunch of people with a shitload of problems, and they like to do a drunk along. They're going to tell you So I just was in Huatulco, Mexico, and a year ago, I went to this AA meeting. It was absolutely annoying because these guys have been sober for 30 years, and all they did is talked about their last drink. They're losers, okay? Because if the only thing you're talking about is your last drink, you don't really have a life, a new life, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean they have a right to say anything they want at the meeting, and I have a right to say anything I want to meet, and I have a right to call them losers, okay? You don't want to be a saint, because that's a lie. And the biggest lie that people do is this patronizing lie where they say, oh, I went to AA, such a great people. That's bullshit, okay? These guys, I always make the joke is, what do you have if you have a horse thief that quits drinking? You have a horse thief, okay? Just because you quit drinking doesn't mean you suddenly become a morally good person. And I always remember this one sponsor that died. It was a real jerk. He's the guy I got drunk over. He said, you're all my best friends, but I'm not inviting you home for dinner. Okay, so how did I stay sober? I got that phone list and I called it. I went to AA. And so the goal of AA is to take a thinking problem. I have a thinking problem, as does a Narcotics Anonymous person, a workaholic, workaholics. Okay, workaholics is probably the worst problem, or the addicted to problems. There's right now this really addicted to problems. For some reason, we don't have any men or women anymore that are powerful that think that everybody thinks that they should tell you all their problems. Okay, I go, golly, what happened to the macho code that you don't sit around and talk about being a wimp? Okay, everybody's a wimp nowadays, and it's become everybody's a what would you call it? A victim. Anybody that starts talking about their victim or somebody took advantage of them or whatever, you got to erase them. You get away from them. Okay, these guys are the sickest of the sick. The victims, the self-appointed victims, in my opinion, are the sickest people there is. Okay, but you got to hang around with what you want to be like. Okay, so I was trying to explain this to a woman just recently on working out. Get a picture. Like I know that, you know, Brad Pitt in, let's see, what was that movie, Spartan or whatever, or Troy maybe. He had these really big deltoids and he exercised. He was looking the body that I wanted to be. So in a way, if you want to work out, you got to figure out the body of the person you want to be like. I'm getting, one of the reasons why I'm writing this book is because most philosophers that you read, they're losers, okay? They are just dystopian, end of the world losers. You should be, a philosopher should be the best example of wisdom, honesty, and search for the truth, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, whatever. There's more to a person besides just staying sober. I mean, I didn't get sober so I could stay sober. I got sober so I could have a great life. Okay, so you can go anywhere you want. I have always gone to the bars, and I don't much anymore because I guess I kind of lost the addiction with travel. Travel, the reason when I started traveling 26 years ago, you know, the bar situation is a tough situation. You know, you got foreign languages, and you really, so I like the morning people, the people of the day versus the people of the night. If I meet anybody traveling and they're, you know, staying up all night, that they're only going to be a friend that's worth something at night. And so I have a much more value in friends that I can talk to any time of the day. So, but you have different time periods where you also have triggers, right? Triggers, like the biggest trigger for me, if I wanted to get depressed, would be to balance a checkbook or do any kind of accounting. That to me is very depressing. Okay. Hold on a second. Google Keep. God, I want to get some notes here. Oh, I'm not connected to the internet. Oh, well. Okay, so what happened, what it's like, and whatever. So I got 4 DWIs. The second time I drank after I was sober 3 years, and this is like 37 years ago, I got a drunk driving. I got put in thing, and they're telling me that I'm going to go to jail because I had two drunk drivings within 10 years, and they're going to put me into jail for 2 years. Okay, 2 years. Okay, and I sat there and I said, I'm not going to go to jail for 2 years. Correct, but long story, but one of I hired an attorney, and they kept saying, attorneys will tell you what they think they can get what you'll take. So there's a legitimacy factor on. Don't ever tell an attorney that you'll take what he gives you, because he will do the minimums. They're criminals, okay? They're people. Lawyers are people that want to be a mediator. They want to be God between two people that are fighting. Okay, that's the job of an attorney. Not all of them, but there's some good attorneys, but 90% of the attorneys are bad. As is 90% of the alcoholics are bad, 90% of recovering alcoholics, 90% of anybody is, in my opinion, a poor representation of human flesh. But and these people are going to let you down. Okay, and that's one thing. I've been let down a lot. I can't say that I even like people in AA. I tolerate them because they're some of the most insane people you ever meet. But that insanity is some way that I can learn, right? I can watch them. There's the brilliance of a person is a person that can watch somebody else screw up and learn from their mistakes. Okay, so what I did is we had a party. I had some alcohol in there. I got drunk. I stayed drunk for 3 months. I got put in jail in Steuben County, up where I grew up. And they said I was going to go to jail for two years. Okay, now we started talking to these lawyers. They don't know anything. Most lawyers, there's lawyers that specialize in things. Like Charles, what is his name? There was a guy in Fort Wayne that if you paid him $5,000, this attorney would go talk to the prosecutor, I guess pay off the prosecutor and get rid of the alcoholism. This happens all the time. You can buy your way out. You can you pay an attorney to do the bribe in a way. And there's a certain attorneys that, especially with alcoholism, see, there's a kind of this legitimacy thing. If they think it's legitimate. Like I had one friend, he got like his 3rd DWI, and he says, "Who do I talk to get this off?" I said, "I'm not telling you. You got to quit drinking. You have like 3 children, whatever." This one guy I always forget. But what happened was I lost my driver's license for 10 years. 10 years. And I was on house arrest for 2 years. But they said I was going to be. So I had this duffel bag underneath my bed. And I went to this Huntington Treatment Center. I think it's closed now. And, it's like $6,000. My sister, my family paid for this. And I went to a treatment center for 30 days. So what's the value of a treatment center? The value of a treatment center is it's like being in jail for 30 days. You got a 30-day head start. So I highly recommend treatment centers, not because there's anything really beneficial about them other than you do meet some good people. But on the other side it's kind of silly. It's like a very expensive hotel. But it's a way of being around people that don't want you to drink. Okay, everybody in a treatment center is kind of a high-level dysfunctional. Most of the counselors you ever meet, most counselors, most psychologists, most anybody you ever meet, they're trying to save themselves. That's why they became a psychiatrist. Okay, why do I write? I write because I'm saving myself. Okay, I'm not writing to save you. I'm writing to save me. Okay, but you got to save yourself by talking to yourself. So what happens is the reason why AA is really good is that we go around the room, somebody brings up a topic, and they talk about it, and you got 30 opinions on this topic, and there's no crosstalk. They really don't like crosstalk, and I don't believe, because that turns into an argument. When you have this confidence, you can, most of my counselors were never honest. Okay, I remember talking to this one counselor. I had to go talk to a counselor before they gave me a judgment. He says, "This is all between me and you. It's private, whatever." He gets in front of the judge and tells every frickin' thing that I said. You get arrested by a policeman, and they lie their butts off, okay? "Oh, we're just going to take you down. There's no problem. You're just kind of keep you off the roads." They lie. Everybody lies. It's unbelievable. The worst thing you can do around a recovering alcoholic is be a liar, because we're looking for something we can believe in. And I have learned, don't believe anybody. I trust my mother to a limit, okay? I trust my sisters and my brothers and everybody to a limit. It seems like the default setting on everybody is to lie. But that's, again, the optimization of relationships. You can't expect people to be perfect, but you can only keep your own scorecard. So to me, I'm in radical thing. Lie to Me, this television show. There's one guy in this TV show called Lie to Me. They had 3 seasons. He had radical honesty. And I believe in radical honesty if you want to have super strength, super intelligent, super powerful control of your life. Why? Because you have to trust yourself first. Okay, so I went to my 90 meetings in 90 days. 90 meetings in 90 days, that's the classic thing. And if you want to stay sober, you go to 90 meetings in 90 days. But if I had the money, what would I recommend? You go to a therapist every day of the week. You go to AA every day of the week. You do it. Anybody, there is a problem for the super rich. The super rich are the ones who become the super insane. The most insane people on alcoholism, drugs, and all these workaholic and all these things is the more money they have, the sicker they become, because they have this position, like, you know, you can have professors and doctors and whatever. I was just watching a television show, Shameless, and this one college professor couldn't stay sober, and he was helping Philip to get sober, and it was really, you know, very good. But I don't like the fact that they take and everybody that's portraying alcoholism portrays it in a negative way. So right now we got television, Hollywood, everybody. That guy that just killed himself in that TV show Friends. These guys failed. You got Robin Williams that gets drunk and kills himself. You got Anthony Bourdain. They kill themselves. Alcoholism is a fatal disease, but it's worse in a way to live, okay? But how do you find a winner when you're surrounded by losers, okay? This is one reason why I'm making this video, is because I'm a winner. I'm not a fat, obese, drug addicted. I'm not addicted to AA. I'm not addicted to anything. I have a balanced lifestyle. I have problems like anybody else, but it's optimization of your life. Okay, so what I did is I got sober by going to 90 meetings in 90 days, but I really went every day. When I was on house arrest for 1 year, really they let me off after 1 year. I could go to an AA meeting every day, so that was kind of like my social life. What is the biggest value of AA? It's like replacing a bar scene with a thing. It's replacing an emotional hole, filling up the hole. Okay, so it gives you a couple of hours where you're doing it. Now, people go to AA meeting, they go to the first AA meeting, and they do this bias thing where if you go to one AA meeting and everybody in there is a jerk, everybody's a jerk. It's like going to church. You go to a church that's not very good, and you think all churches are bad. Or you hear this idea, this dysfunctional thing that, you know, a pedophile Catholic priest, and then every Catholic priest is a pedophile. Okay, this kind of logic is the worst kind of stupidity there is. Fools are the foolish idea that you're transferring that, you know, one pedophile Catholic priest and all of them are a thing. Don't get me wrong, you got a problem with this stuff. But you go into one AA meeting, it's bad. So the great thing about AA, especially if you're in a big city, is you can go to, you know, 5, 10 different ones a day. So you just pick and choose until you find a group of people, and then the people that you like to talk to. They have really, you know, the doctors and lawyers have their own AA meeting, but I think doctors and lawyers are probably the most sickest of them all, because their ego is writing a paycheck that they can't cash. They are the sickest because they can't really ever have humility, which is the ability to learn. Okay, humility is being willing to learn. Okay, their ego says, I'm okay, I'm okay. They can't say I'm insane because that seems contradictory. People ask me what I was. I said, I'm a drunk. There is absolutely no reward for staying sober. If you want a reward for staying sober, it's like an asshole in remission. That's what I am. I'm an asshole in remission for 37 years. And people call me an asshole right now, and I say, be more specific. Okay, but definitely I'm still capable of having all sorts of character defects, they call. But the way to stay sober is to find first some people that want you to stay sober. And that means sometimes you have to get rid of your wife, your boyfriends, your girlfriends, whatever. And you got to find, you can only hang around with people that will not help you to get drunk. Okay, don't get me wrong. Everybody wants you drunk. Your friends all want you drunk because, why? Because they became your friend because you're a drunk with them. Okay, losers want to be surrounded by losers. Okay, and it's just part of it. Dysfunctional people marry dysfunctional people. Alcoholics marry alcoholics. So most people that get sober, when one party gets sober and the other one stays drinking, they normally get a divorce because they fell in love with each other because of their dysfunctional hooks. They hook together with their dysfunctional behaviors. Okay, so here I am. I'm on house arrest. I'm trying to make a living. I can only, every time the phone rings, I have to pick it up. These big three black, I'll never forget, these three black racist guys used to come over and make me piss in a jar. And I said, guys, you're doing this just for sport to abuse a white guy. And they were very racist. Actually, it's kind of funny. They tried to say I was going to go to jail if I didn't talk to this black newspaper and talk about going to AA. And I said, guys, at the level of press, I'm not supposed to admit that I go to Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, there's a very good reason for this, because somebody gets up there, say a movie star gets up there, and he or she gets drunk next week, then that is this stupid anti-intellectual thing that they got drunk, therefore AA is a failure. Obviously, AA is the biggest success thing on the planet. This guy today, this nitwit, was talking about 92% of people get drunk. 92% of people, they go for free and they're like giving it a try, okay? And as far as I know, really only 1 in 25 people actually get sober. Some of them get a good kick in the ass. When somebody throws you in jail, there's many people quit drinking. Their wife says, I'm leaving, they're going to die. The doctor says they're going to die. Probably the most effective one is when the doctor tells them you're going to die. Okay, most people don't give a crap about their wife or their job. The job's more important than the wife, but doesn't really matter. If you want to stay sober, you got to get over this feeling of wanting to drink, so you got to first hang around with a group of people. That if you're real rich, you can pay. Like I've often I keep talking about being an alcohol concert for the super rich. Why? Because you're in danger of losing a lot of things. Yeah, but in a way, you also have to have somebody that you could banter with and laugh with and talk with that basically helps you. Like, it'd be really fun to hang around with one of these millionaires, billionaires for a couple of months, stay at their place and help them to understand how to be a functional person. Just because you're a billionaire doesn't mean you're not a drunk or an addict. I really was upset when Elon Musk smoked dope there with Joe Rogan on Joe Rogan. Joe, this is not a good idea. You're making, these are examples of the heroes of the modern world. Okay, so you got to find heroes, okay? You got to find people that you want to be like. And it's very difficult in today's society to find somebody that has the character and the personality and integrity anymore. Everybody, right now we're in the era of the the new Z generation, whatever. These people don't even have a brain. Their brain's really the smartphone, okay? So you got to find people to hang around with that you want to be like, okay? Then you got to call them, and you got to get permission to call them 24 hours a day. So not very many people can do it. They're going to say things like, you're sitting there going, I'm thinking about killing myself. When somebody calls you up and they want to drink, what they're saying is, I'm thinking about killing myself. I put a gun in my mouth. I used to sit in this chair when I was drinking, and I was in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'd sit there and I look up at the ceiling and I try to figure out how I was going to take a hammer, stick the extension cord over the thing, tie it up, make a loop, and jump off the edge. Put a shotgun in my mouth when I was in Bloomington, Indiana. Alcoholism is suicide. So when somebody wants to drink, what they're doing is committing suicide, and they want to kill themselves. Okay, or you got the worst ones that just they want to blame everybody and they want to be a self-appointed victim. Anybody that when I get around anybody that wants to talk about being a victim or being abused or whatever, I don't talk to them, because this kind of insanity is the worst kind of insanity there is. Okay, so I started out by going to AA to learn how to not have dysfunctional behavior. I'm going to write about this, but I'll put the link in there, but I have a link I've collected almost 500 different forms of dysfunctional behavior. They say you're dysfunctional. What the fuck's that? Dysfunctional. Functional, I'll give an example. Functional people, you call up a functional person, you say, hey, what are you doing? You want to go to dinner? He says, I can't tonight, but I can, the functional person says, I'll go in 3 days. What time? Blah, blah. You arrange it. A dysfunctional people says, call me later. Okay, dysfunctional people use this text message. The percentage of dysfunctional people is growing. Okay, it's radically growing. A functional situation works. Dysfunctional people, they just sort of bounce each other. So it's like two dysfunctional people, they talk, but they don't ever connect. There's no meeting of the minds. Okay, so I went to AA. So you could do this by going to counselors. You could, what the ideal situation, if I was a billionaire, I would hire, 10 psychiatrists until I found 3 of them that I really loved. And then I would pay them and say, I want permission to call you 24 hours a day. Because when I feel like drinking and I got that urge and I'm on the way to it, what was this? They had this guy that was on Shameless. They had this sober, it was like an attendant. They had somebody that was to watch a person to keep them sober. But that don't work because you'll escape somebody you don't like. But if you really like talking to somebody, there's people that we just naturally like to talk to. Those are the people you need on the call list, okay? You don't need that. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of wild child, terrible twos, idiots that need a father, that had no father, and they get a sponsor that is a sponsor. I've never had a sponsor, really. I had one sponsor up in Midland, Michigan. I've never had another sponsor. I appoint a lot of people my sponsor. I say this person. But the minute you give somebody the job of being sponsor, it's like, they actually become like a little dictator and they think they can tell you what to do. That's very good for a person that never had a father, had a good father. I don't need another father. I'm always laughing at these philosophy videos. They always talk like a serious old man that's a father, a grandfather figure. Why do they do this? Because people listen to this tone of voice. Okay, you got to find somebody that you trust, that doesn't want you to drink, that you like to talk to. When you feel like drinking, you stop everything and you realize it's a fatal disease and you're going to die. You're going to lose your wife. You're going to go to jail. You're going to lose your job. You're going to lose all these things. But once you start losing your job, then you start losing your wife. Then they start drinking to get over the emotional pain or whatever. So it becomes a vicious feedback loop. It's a feedback loop where what used to be the fun thing that solved the problem now becomes the thing that causes the problem. So you call up people, you hang around with people. So the simple thing is you hang around with people that don't want you to drink. Don't get me wrong, you got to be real careful here. Most people, 90% of the people you think that don't want you to drink want you to drink. Don't trust them. Not everybody in AA is going to be your buddy. That is a complete sack of shit lie. There's specific people in the group that will like you. If you say everybody in AA like you, that means you lie all the time. The tenet of staying sober is brutal honesty. And then when you read how it works, that's it. Then, so you call people, you collect a bunch of numbers, you start calling, you go to AA, go to any kind of group where they don't want you to drink. The best way to do would be to be in treatment for, say, 30 days. And don't watch these videos on YouTube. They are insane. They're going to say that but it's okay to use church, your best friend, your consultants, your counselors, your therapists, and your treatment center in union. Okay, you don't have all your eggs in one basket. The value of AA, though, is that it's universal and you can go anywhere United States. One of the great things I have learned, I haven't done it, they have these Zoom meetings, so you could be completely so if you're really, say you're really wealthy and you're famous, you can probably block out all your thing and get on Zoom meetings or whatever. How to find these things, I'm not really sure. I do know that in my little, they got these apps where you can find, well, that's a good way to do it. This app has Zoom meetings on it. There's an app here that looks like a chair. See if I can show it. See that chair? I don't know what the name of the app, probably alcoholism, and it tells you where the meetings are, but you can get Zoom. So if you're really afraid of all the anonymity problem, now why do I say I'm Andy Lee Graham and an alcoholic? Because somebody needs to talk to me and they don't know how to contact me. You don't have to be anonymous. When I go to an AA meeting, I say, my name is Andy Lee Graham and I'm an alcoholic. Why? Because I'm grateful. I'm not grateful to be a recovering alcoholic. I'm actually grateful to be an alcoholic. Why? These dinglings have no, the mass dysfunctional behavior that's evolving with social networks and stuff is radical. I'm proud of who I am. I'm like every other person on the planet. I've had traumas. 50% of the United States has had a divorce. And they're never going to get over it. They don't have the tools to get over it. 50% of the people, lost a job. There's so many problems. You get in a car accident, you have cancer. There's so many emotional traumas. You go to the military, whatever. We all have a trauma, 2 or 3, and the more honest we are, if the one thing that 2 different statements. Insanity is doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different result. So if you get up and you try to say you're going to quit drinking, you're going to stop eating, you're going to stop working off, and you do the same thing and you just keep going back, you need to get somebody outside of you to help you. Einstein said we can't solve a problem with the same mind that created the problem. That's really the second step. But the point is you cannot solve your problem because your best thinking made you become an alcoholic or a workaholic or a drugaholic or whatever, these addictions. It doesn't really matter. They're all the same. People are addicted. Everybody I know is addicted to something. The #1 addiction right now in the United States is addicted to talking about their problems. I sometimes say, stop doing stupid things. Stop talking about your problems. What was his name? Trevor Mowater or something. He said, very good point. If you say something out loud, it becomes like 50 times more powerful than if you don't say it. So if you're ready to say something negative, don't say it because it takes the negative and makes it happen. It's a self-prophesizing thing. Don't say stupid things out loud. Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham. I've stayed sober for 37 years, and I have no desire to drink. Why? Because to me, I'm not going to drink again. I'm going to kill myself. If I got to the point where I wanted to drink, I'd just kill myself and get it over with because that's what it is. It's a fatal disease. I have no desire. But you have problem drinkers that need to figure out how to get control of it. But you need somebody smart enough to deal with your brains, right? And this is the problem with a lot of the highly educated super achievers and whatever. They feel like they're a super intelligent person around dumb people. There's groups all around the planet now that are, they have some private groups even. I don't think that's a good idea to get joined. I think you got to get over yourself, okay? Don't get me wrong. If you're an attorney or you're a doctor, you can destroy your business, right? Alcoholism, I don't know if I call it a disease. That's kind of a hokey thing to me. It's just a way to not take responsibility for the fact that I became a jerk, okay? Who cares what the terminology is? All our intentions. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm actually grateful that I'm an alcoholic because most of the writing and the books I write and everything is a direct result of me trying to deal with being a functional a person with utility value that understands the difference between being part of the problem and part of the solution. Okay, I'm here and you're not. Why not? If you want to talk to me and you want to pay me to talk to you about being a recovering alcoholic, or I'm an expert on alcoholism, real estate, internet, travel. You know, you can become a Patreon. There's many ways. The best way to do is to become a Patreon and start figuring out how to deal with it. That's $5 a month. My Patreon members, I let talk about anything and everything. Travel is not about travel. Travel is living at 10 times the speed. So I live my life at 10 times the normal speed of a person. I enter and have 10 times the number of problems because the routine is disrupted all the time. Okay, be friends, but the most important thing of staying sober is finding somebody that's your friend that doesn't allow you to play these mind games and won't patronize you. They won't say things that you want to hear just to make you happy. The white lie's got to be the most dangerous thing there is. We're only as healthy as the number of secrets. The number of secrets you have, the more secrets you are, the sicker you are. The more you have these white lies, the sicker you are, in my opinion. We can be the best of the best. It's your choice. Take responsibility to become the best possible person. Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham. I'm going to make another video where I explain what happens in an AA meeting. I have this channel on alcoholism. I'm not really positive if I can publish it to 2 different places. This is my main channel, and I don't know. I get tired of all these things. I have a good life. The life is good. La vida es bien. Life is good. And if you're really depressed and you really want to know how to be happy, say life is good. You start saying that life is good, and you'll start laughing. The more you say it, you'll start laughing. If you're really in a bad place and you wanted to say to yourself, life is good, until you start laughing. Life is good, guys.